Hi everyone, Berthany Wright-Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Oliver Tree album, Alone in a Crowd. This is a brand new LP from pop singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, visual artist, director, and all-around goofy guy, Oliver Tree. He is now on his third commercial album since breaking through into the mainstream, and his profile has ballooned quite a bit since then, racking up tens of millions of listeners across streaming platforms. Kinda crazy considering what put him on the map were razor scooter tricks, outlandish viral memes, and surreal satirical music videos. Oliver clearly doesn't take himself as seriously as most pop stars, but somehow has built a larger platform than some of the more critically acclaimed ones. And even if you're not a fan of what Oliver does, you still have to be aware of his antics because he knows how to draw a crowd, and he is truly the closest thing we have to an Andy Kaufman type figure in mainstream music. Now, while it did leave me wanting more, his 2020 album Ugly is Beautiful, I did like it quite a bit. It put forward a really quirky, solid sound for Oliver to build his career on, I felt. This tongue-in-cheek fusion of hip-hop and electro-pop with a touch of rock too, which played really well into his kind of cartoonish vocals. But Oliver kind of blew all that to smithereens with the release of his next LP, Cowboy Tears, which was basically an attempt at making his personal brand of mimetic internet showmanship work in a country context, and I'm not entirely sure it worked, at least for me. Frankly, I couldn't stand the record, even if I personally find Oliver as a character and a cultural figure entertaining. So fast forward to now, and we are getting the latest iteration of Oliver's character here, kind of Oliver 3.0, if you will. The bowl cut is looking more posh than ever. He's got a mustache now, and the winter coat has this incredible and intricate print on it, though I am still worried that he's very hot under it. This album cycle also brings a new series of music videos where Oliver is really feeding into his own lore, like with the track Essence, where he's being a total heel for about 3 minutes, and at one point even beating up previous versions of himself. Considering all of this and the very ambitious live show he seems to have lined up behind this album, it is unquestionable that Oliver has the talent to be an all-around entertainer. But for the purpose of this video, my primary concern is the music. So Alone in the Crowd is Oliver Tree's shortest full-length LP yet, with the core tracks adding up to just about 30 minutes. And there's for sure a theme running through the record: loneliness, love, friends, companionship, isolation. The record truly does live up to its title in that sense. And thankfully the singing and instrumentals are quite a bit more palatable than what Oliver was offering up on Cowboy Tears, as he's kind of going back to the more standard pop blends that Ugly is Beautiful brought to the table, but maybe with a bit less edge this time around, which I don't think I would mind if I thought the beats were more colorful or the songs were more replayable. I know that being instantaneous and direct and straightforward is pretty key when it comes to pop music, but I feel like as the years draw on, Oliver is just being so incredibly reductive when it comes to how he builds his songs and tells stories. I can feel the flavor of these tracks just fading away as I'm right in the middle of them. Take the opening song Bounce, for instance. In the first verse, we hear Oliver say, "Who you gonna call when things go wrong? Good question. When things get bad, it's always my fault. But when you need a friend, who you gonna call? You already asked. You asked this already with just a line ago." Not exactly riveting stuff. Plus, the bulk of the song is spent with Oliver kind of, explaining how much this person is like addicted to him in a physical and sexual way, which Oliver Tree, sex god? I did not see skillfully laying pipe coming up as like, a subplot in the Oliver Tree cinematic universe. This is kind of one of the more obnoxious sounding songs on the record too, with basic beats, buzzing synth bass, and Oliver's bellowing voice doubled up so it sounds like a damn foghorn. This is not that much better than a Tones and I track. But things do get toned down a little bit on the following One and Only, as well as Essence, where the singing isn't as over the top. The lyrics are very straightforward statements of love and loneliness and desire. The production, very mild, no fuss fusions of electronic music and pop. They're listenable, but there's not really that much to say about them beyond that. The tracks are really low risk, low reward, and it continues to be a slight disappointment that a lot of Oliver's character and sense of humor gets poured into pretty much everything other than his song sometimes. The following star I feel like could have used a retooling on the production end. The acoustic guitars and beats are so light and lacking in heft that they feel almost demo quality. Meanwhile, the lyrics are about how highly Oliver thinks of a certain person who he has in mind. A lot of the words on this track come off as very overly sentimental and especially patronizing. I feel similarly about the track Smile to some extent too, and while these songs do express nice sentiments for sure, once again, when it comes to specifics and details lyrically and musically, I think we're just missing out. We're missing something, especially when Oliver is busting rhymes like these. Plus, aesthetically, the whole thing sounds like a watered-down version of something Ben Gibbard would do. Not quite Postal Service, it's more like FedEx. And speaking of derivative, Highlight of My Life feels like just a few shades away from a 21 Pilots song, but even 21P I think would bring a bit more punch to a track, especially on the drums. So yeah, the first leg of this thing, the very long first leg of this thing is pretty underwhelming, a little rough, but weirdly some of the strongest and best songs in this entire project drop toward the end. We have Strangers busting through with these skipping bass lines, punchy kicks, some solid vocal harmonies too. It's genuinely fun and captivating pop production with a decent song attached to it, catchy lyrics about loneliness, specifically feeling it around other people, strangers in a crowd. The track is simple, it's sticky, it plays into the concept of the record well, as does Invisible Man, which I thought was another bop. A track all about feeling unseen, feeling unworthy of acknowledgement in a sense. And again, I'm just curious as to how the bops in the track list are dropping now. Oliver does it again with Elevator to the Sky. More of a ballad type track with some basic bass and pianos, yes, but it's a decent song with some wailing MGMT-esque synths on it that ask, where do we go when we die? It's not super complicated, but it does have a catchy hook and plays into the concept of the record effectively, and feels more focused and specific than just some of the more generic love songs on here. Then there's the closer, which I think ties things up and sees Oliver making a very effective attempt at trying to twist a bit of a synth pop and new wave blend into something that complements his vibe and sound. Plus, that chorus goes, "You, I'm running with you." But a lot like Ugly is Beautiful, while there are moments of this LP I liked and appreciated, I am left wanting more, much more actually, in fact, this time around. Because I think Oliver is still scratching the surface when it comes to what he could potentially be putting into these songs as far as like texture, musical details and arrangements, lyrical details and specifics as well. Also, just like extending some of the best moments of this album too, because there are two tragically short songs on this record. Both are very shy of 2 minutes and see Oliver rapping, which I typically do like his rap style, and I do like the way his sense of humor typically comes out when he is spitting bars. That is especially the case on these tracks, and it's just a shame that he didn't explore the themes of these songs more deeply, and he just kind of cut both of them long before they even hit 2 minutes. And again, not only could these songs have been longer, but I feel like the album could have used more cuts like these to just kind of liven the vibe of the album up. Plus, I think in a rap context, Oliver is often put in a position where he's sort of made to say more on a song and have more to say, whereas when he's making just straightforward pop, he sort of simplifies things down so much to the point where there's really not a whole lot to listen to, pull apart, observe, or anything. So in that sense, Alone in a Crowd does feel a little hollow and just kind of lacking. Even if there are some highlights here and there, even if I do still appreciate Oliver as an entertainer generally. Feeling a light to decent 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Oliver Tree, forever.